Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And yet again, I have another fantastic guest for us tonight. But before I start, please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video. And I also have currently running a Kickstarter running for the Oswald Chronicles. And this is one of the covers, one of the books that is being featured. So if you want, go check it out. That's in the show notes. And without further ado, is our fantastic guest, Kyrun Silva. How you doing, man?
All right, how about you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Happy to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. You're all the way out in California, right?
I am sunny, hot, blazing California right now. It was 110 degrees today, so.
Oof. Yeah. That's not even right.
Combine that with like half the state's on fire from the temperature and everything, and there's smoke everywhere in the air. Like I haven't seen blue skies for like the last 2 weeks. It's all just been gray skies, so I'm glad to be live, basically.
Seriously, God bless you guys, man. I mean, oof, that's rough, man. That is rough. I'm on the East.
Oh, good.
No, I said I'm on the East Coast, so
Okay.
But that's.
You had Scott on a while ago. He's right in the thick of everything, so he's got it really bad where he's at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, hopefully the season will calm down.
It's part of living in California. It's one of the perks, you can say.
Right. All right. Well, listen, man. Let's get on to the fun, happy stuff. Enough with the dreary, right? So one of my favorite questions, and we'll start with this, is all right. So obviously there was a book in your youth that you picked up that made you, not necessarily the first book, but necessarily there was a book that you got and you say, you know what, man, I like this. I could do this. Which was that book?
Oh, that was X-Men #1. Jim Lee, whole wraparound cover, all those covers. That was X-Men #1. Just the how they integrated all these different characters and threw this seamless storyline together. I was like, I want to do this, and I didn't know if I could at the time, but I was like, you know what? This is my passion. From this point forward, this is my passion. I want to put everything together. Because I was always into drawing before that. And I was in the comics somewhat, but I was like, you know what? I love this too much to not do this anymore. So I was like, this is it. This is it for me.
Right. All right. That's awesome. So, I mean, like, what was it of Jim Lee? Well, obviously it was Jim Lee and Chris Claremont, right? Mm-hmm. So what was it of that story that like intrigued you enough to be like, you know what, man, I got to give this a shot?
I mean, like I said, it was more the idea of all these characters being combined into this one story, but then everybody had their own unique voice in it. I mean, you could definitely tell Rogue's part of the story from Cyclops, from Beast, even though he was on Uncanny X-Men. When they brought him on, you could tell that he was distinct in the story. He wasn't just everybody was cookie cutter in that. So definitely I was probably more Chris Claremont than everything. But then you got Jim Lee's fantastic pencils and the dynamic poses he had on there, which, I mean, besides Jack Kirby, there really isn't anybody out there that can do dynamic action poses like he does. So, you combine those two, and I was like, this is a perfect medium for me. And like I said, I loved drawing before. I was constantly drawing. I was drawing everything I could at the time. But then I was like, well, I'm always coming with these characters. Let's just start throwing stories around with all these generic characters I was putting together. And then I kept on holding on some of them, and years from now, started making comics for me.
Gotcha. Now this is like this is your third campaign on Zob?
Yeah, this is issue 3. The first 2 campaigns for Saw were great. This one has blown my mind how great this has gone. I mean, we funded within the first 13 days, which I've never had a campaign fund that quickly. And like most of my campaigns have always been last week, maybe the last day. Like I think the first issue of Saw, we funded in the very last hour of the campaign. And I mean, we got it was like hundreds of dollars. We were away from goal. And I was so distraught that I was like, I'm not gonna make this. And I took my dog for a walk. And then I came back and I didn't take my phone. So I came back and I had all these messages on my phone. I was like, what is going on? Why is my phone blowing up? And I looked and it was just congratulations. And I was like, okay, what happened? What did I do? And I looked and my Kickstarter funded. And I was like, oh, wow, what's going on? And it was a lot of, some people just last moment just pledged. I was like, this is fantastic. And then issue 2, it wasn't last minute like that, but if I'm not mistaken, that was like the last week we funded Saw issue 2. And then this one, 13 days in, and now we're on to our second stretch goal, which is fantastic. I mean, and we're less than like 200 away from that stretch goal. So who knows? We still have another 15, 14 days. We could maybe even get to my 4th or 5th stretch goal. We never know.
This is true. No, I mean, that's awesome. You know, I mean, yeah, it's always great when you can exceed and get to those stretch goals.
Yeah, I mean, this is honestly the first time I've even gotten this far through stretch goals. So I'm in brand new territory. Like when I got through the first stretch goal, I was like, I've never gotten this good before with a Kickstarter. I have no idea what I'm doing. Because before, I'm funding at the last moment for a lot of things. I don't even have stretch goals planned out. Right. So when we funded, I was like, I have to think of stretch goals, and I still have 15, 16 days left. What am I going to do? So I took the weekend and I got some ideas. I threw them to some friends, and they were like, "Yeah, these make really good stretch goals." And I have 4 now, but we're doing good. We're doing good. We'll see how far you get up there.
All right. No, that's, like I said, that's impressive, man. I really like it. So after your first campaign, what was like the biggest takeaway you took from that? What was the biggest learning lesson you had from that?
Well, my first campaign, that first Kickstarter we did, was actually for a different series called Shaman's Destiny, which is a 6-issue series I wrote and drew, and actually did all the coloring and lettering. And the first thing I realized from that was Kickstarter is a marathon. I didn't really realize how much goes into a Kickstarter. Like, I heard stories about, so much stress and anxiety that comes with it, but I didn't believe it at first. And then when I finally got into it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm finding myself constantly refreshing that page to see if I got a new pledge, or I'm constantly trying to reach out to people to do podcasts or interviews through their website or what have you. I didn't realize that was almost a second job, because I was working full time at that point. And I had, I think, 2 kids at that point. I don't think I had my 3rd one yet. I had 2 kids, my wife, and a full-time job, and I'm taking on this Kickstarter now. And I was like, this is another full-time job. I don't have time for all this. So that was probably the big thing, is just how much commitment you have to put into it. It's not just you put the Kickstarter out there and people just give you money. There's advertising, there's mass media, there's the hype up beforehand that you really have to do in order for it to be a successful Kickstarter. So all those things I didn't know, and I probably could have found out if I had asked more. But I was a little stubborn and probably hard-headed and a little sure of myself. But yeah, I mean, it was more of just the pre-planning and how long goes into putting Kickstarter. I just had no idea what I was getting into, honestly.
Right. No, I've been there.
Yeah, you got one right now, right?
Yeah, I have one running all the time.
Yeah, so what it's like. You put that Kickstarter out there, and even when it does fund, there's still that stress. Like, okay, I funded. Now I have to make sure I keep that funding. Could you get those last minute drops or pledges that don't go through? So that you got that stress, and you're like, well, okay, how far can I push this now that I've gotten it funded? So there's all those things that go through your mind when you've gotten it done. Now you're thinking about, you got to pre-plan and plan better to make sure that you keep those funds and even do better to hopefully help your next Kickstarter. So
No, yeah, I've been there. Like I said, I always have one running somewhere. If not on Kickstarter, on Indiegogo.
Okay. Yeah, I've done one on Indiegogo, and I don't count it because I've never used Indiegogo, and I didn't really know anybody that did. And I didn't put any effort into it. I just threw a Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign out there, and I was like, let's see what it does. And I got a couple, I think I got like maybe 1 per person chose it. Right. But it's a different beast. It's a different type of advertising that you have to go through Indiegogo than you do through Kickstarter. So it was good for me to at least get that under my belt and just see what it's like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the one thing that I found is, like, with Kickstarter, people on Kickstarter will find you. Mm-hmm. You'll have some people that'll just find you. On Indiegogo, you got to bring it. Yeah. That one, you have to bring your crowd to them, or else it's just going to just die.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, unfortunately, now Indiegogo has a little bit of a stigma to it with the groups out there. Yeah. So if you put something on Indiegogo, people are like, well, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that you're for a certain group? You're like, no, I'm just trying to bring my book to the masses. I want it because there are people out there that don't do Kickstarter. They only do Indiegogo.
Right.
So I want to make sure I'm putting stuff out there that everybody can get to.
Yeah. My philosophy is this: as an independent publisher, I don't really have a choice but to make as much money as I can make. Because I'm not an artist. I pay my guys. I pay my people.
I even with Saw issues 1, 2, and 3, I'm not doing the artwork. I had to freelance all my artists on that, and people don't realize how much that is. It's expensive at times, and if I can get funds from somewhere else that will help make the next issue even better, I'm all for that. Don't get mad because I'm trying to get money.
Right. So let me ask you this: like, what was the most difficult part about putting together your team for Za?
God, the hardest part, honestly, is finding the right artists, because there are amazing artists, and you can find. I mean, you can go into Facebook and look at all these art groups, and you can find tons of artists. And it's not even just finding the artists that you can afford, because there's definitely different people that you can pay that are not as expensive or really expensive. So it's not even that, but it's finding the right artist that fits the image that you have for the book. Like for issues 1 and 2, when I had David Jackson on there, he had a great like cartoony style. It's very fluid. It's very dynamic with his poses, and I love that. And I was like, this is what I envisioned when I first wanted Saw to be produced. And then when I came to issue 3, I had to switch out to a new artist because David is moving on to greater things, and his time frame sometimes doesn't allow him to put books in when I need it. But I found Erwin Wopa. He's from the Philippines, and he was like, yeah, I could do this. And he gave me some samples of what he could do with Saw, and he was like, this is what I have. And I was like, this is great also. And even though it's different than what David was producing, but it still has that cartoony look that I want. It still has very dynamic poses and a lot of action to it. And that's what I wanted for Saw. I didn't want a traditional comic book. I wanted a little bit more of a cartoony style to it. So finding an artist that fits what I want it to be, that's got to be the hardest thing.
Yeah. Now, are you doing the coloring? You got somebody else doing the coloring?
Actually, I have Federico Siak Jr. He's done some color. He did issues 1 and 2 for coloring, and he's done some other books here and there. He's done some coloring for Scattered Comics and some other indie publishers. And then the lettering is done by Nikki Powers, who everybody seems to use Nikki for their books. I don't know how many people will use her, but she's everywhere when it comes to lettering. And I'm thankful to have both of them on there, especially Nikki. I've met Nikki before in real life because she lives here in California, and she actually found me at a convention. And this was after issue 1 came out, and I had issue 1 on the table, and she's like, "Are you Kyrun Silva?" I was like, "Yeah." She just came out of nowhere, and she's like, "Oh, I'm Nikki." I was like, "Oh my God, Nikki, it's nice to meet you." We've only conversed through the internet. We've never talked, so we've only did the whole Facebook DMs. And she doesn't have her picture. At that time, she didn't have a picture of herself, so I didn't know what she looked like. So she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm Nikki. Nice to meet you." I was like, "Wow, great to see you." So I'm glad that they're both on my staff. And I've used Nikki for a couple other projects. She did the lettering on Ruby from Planet Oz, which is a series I just did issue 1 for last year. Came out earlier this year, but I finished last year. And she's phenomenal. And then Federico, I'm glad to have him back. Actually, he did issues 1 and 2, but the art style that he's done for the coloring for issue 3 is just fabulous. He said he's learned new things from YouTube and all these other sites, so I'm glad to have him back too.
Nice. Now, what is now in the process? So you've done several Kickstarters and whatever. So in that process, like how quickly do you plan on flipping a project?
I try to do at least 2 or 3 projects a year on Kickstarter, but I won't start another one until the rewards for that first one has already been sent out. Right. I've experienced from my own backing Kickstarters from people that are doing Kickstarter after Kickstarter, where they get confused or things get lost, and I'm like, I don't want to do that to my fans. So I won't put anything out until this issue is done. And it might even be like I put out everything into the mail and maybe 2 weeks later, bam, new Kickstarter's out. At least I hope by that time, you've gotten your rewards, you'll be able to read it, and then it's still stuck fresh in your mind. Oh yeah, hopefully you like the book.
Right.
But yeah, it's probably 2 weeks to maybe a month after I've shipped out the rewards is the soonest I'll do the next Kickstarter, if anything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I run a similar philosophy.
Okay.
You know, I don't start a new campaign until everything's out the door.
Nice.
Yeah,
and that, it helps with keeping that confidence as you as a creator, as a consumer. If I buy your book and I know, JD's got a book coming out, and I know he won't, screw it up, I'm going to come back. Because there's too much animosity for people that aren't producing what they say they're supposed to be. I mean, I remember I went through one time going through all the Kickstarters and calculating how much I had pledged that from rewards I hadn't received yet. And it was a few $100s.
Right.
I was like, I don't have that kind of money to just be throwing away. So I want to make sure I'm keeping up with my fans and doing good for the fans that, especially my returning customers, the people that are there supporting me all the time. I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can for them.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, and it gets to a point where you're just like, you see those names over and over again, and and I know for me personally, like I can't thank them enough.
Yeah.
So So yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. I guess here's a question. I don't ask many creators this question because they're not in the position you're in. Just like they're not in the same position I'm in. I'm in two positions. One, I hire somebody to do my work, and another one, my wife draws one of my books. So I married my artist. Hey,
nice. That's the best way to make it.
Yeah, trust me, you still pay for it.
Oh, okay.
Well, no. I mean, you're married. You know what I mean. Pay for it in different ways. It's not a bad way. It's not a bad way.
Okay. All right.
No. So here it is. Well, I think you already answered this because you're doing upfront pay or you're doing back end.
I'm doing upfront pay, and what I actually do is I pay in chunks. That's to make sure that, and I tell my artists before I even hire them, this is how I do it, and if you're okay with it, let's go. And if you're not, that's fine. We move on. I'll find somebody else. But I pay them by chunks. Once you finish that page, then we pay for the next chunk. And that's just, it helps keep me and my fan base, whatever, knowing that there's going to be something coming down the line. Because if I've heard too many stories of people say, I paid my artist all this money and they're gone.
Right.
But if I could pay somebody 4 or 5 pages at a time, even if they leave, I still have enough money I can get the rest of the book taken care of. Maybe I might have to come out of pocket on the back end later on, but hey, it's better than me paying for a whole book all over again with funds I probably don't have.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you work it, but usually, depending on the artist, if I'm new with them, I'll usually pay half up front on 5 pages.
Okay.
So then that way I'll be like, okay, you get these 5 done, I'll pay you the second half plus the first half of the next. So then that way everybody's guaranteed something.
Yeah.
And
as long as your artist is okay with that, there shouldn't be any problem. I mean, as long as you're upfront with the artist and you tell them this is how I pay out, I don't see any problem with that. Even if you are somebody that for some reason only pays the artist when everything is done, which I think is stupid, but if you and the artist are okay with that, that's fine. But again, it's making sure that you and that artist are on the same page. And same thing with your colors and letter. As long as you guys are all on the same page and it works for you, that's great.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it's hard, when you have either an unreliable team or an unreliable pay system. You know, because I know my artist. The only reason she stuck around with me is because I'm consistent. She sends me the stuff, and within 24 hours, bam, it's there.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like if I'm hiring you and I say I'm gonna pay you, I'm paying you honestly within 15, 20 minutes, if not a couple hours at the max. And that's even for things like pinups or sketches, whatever. If I'm gonna say, hey, I want to hire you to do this pinup, I'm only gonna do it if I have the money to give to you right at that moment, because I don't want you to be doing work. Because I'm an artist too. I'm along with the writer, I'm an artist. and I've done covers for people. I've done interiors for people, and I've gotten screwed over. So I don't want to do that to anybody else too. I want to make sure I have the funds available, and if they're there, I'm going to get the work done from you.
Now, so here's a question for you as an artist, right? No names needed. What was the worst situation you found yourself in where somebody owed you?
Oh, wow.
Because this is an important teaching situation for like young artists.
Well, when somebody owed me, it was actually, it wasn't even for comic books. It was for a small business that I was good friends with. I did some artwork and some preliminary sketches for that they're going to put up on their business wall. And I submitted it to them. They're like, yeah, they're great. And I was like, all right, pay me for half of the work. And then when it's done, pay me for the other half. Because this was like painted wise, it was very small compared to what a full comic book would be. So I was willing to do half and half. And they were all like, fine. And I want to say a few months went by and I didn't hear back from them. And I reached out to them and I was like, are you guys still wanting to do this? What's going on? They're like, yeah, we want to do this. We want to do this. Just give us some time. No problem. Because I had other stuff that I can do. Right. Another month or two went by. Hey, what's going on? You guys still want to do this? Yeah. We're still going to do this. We're going to do this. Whatever. Let me know. I still have your file here. I can just get it done. So then about half a year, a little bit more than half a year went by. I reached out to them. I was like, okay, you know what, guys? It's not working out. You guys are obviously going in some other direction or you want something else done, and that's fine. I'm not even going to be mad about it because I didn't do too much work, so you can take what I did. Don't even worry about paying me. And I just washed my hands. Right. And I'm still friends with the owner of the business, but I just won't do work at this point. Right.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to maintain that relationship as a friend than it is to,
Yeah, because I mean, this wasn't a huge lucrative business for me doing that work. So I was like, I could have gone to the restaurant for basically what they were paying me. Me and my wife, we could have gone to a restaurant for one night. So I wasn't missing out on too much for it. But I still want to get paid for some of the work I did. But at the end of the day, I can live with one project not going through compared to my reputation possibly getting slandered.
Right, definitely. Now, during the creation process, we all have things that we all enjoy, right? All right, we'll start with this. What's the process? What's the portion of the process that you most enjoy in creating comics?
Oh God, getting the book back, printed, and getting it from the printer, and it's all in the cellophane wrapping and all that. And that sound when you get to open it, and that sound when you're ripping open, and you get to hold it. Like I remember the first comic I got, it was Shaman's Destiny #1, and I got it back from Calderon Printing. And I remember I opened it up and I smelt it. Like I put it to my face, I was like, I smelled it because this was like a baby to me. This was something I had put so much time and effort into, and it became real. My dream became real. It was honestly, the first issue wasn't that great. Everybody's first issue isn't that good, but it was beautiful to me because this was something I put a lot of effort in and a lot of time in. So that opening of the cellophane and just seeing it and holding it, that's the best part. That's honestly the best part for me.
Yeah. Something about smell that you may not know, some people may know. Us older guys, right? I've been doing this since 91, 92. Us older guys, we used to have to print offset, right? Okay. So a lot of us use this company called Brenner Printing, right? Now, if you ever run across someone who's used Brenner Printing, ask them about the smell.
Okay.
Because there was a very distinct smell to a Brenner printed book. And it was just very funny because you would get it, you would open the box, and it was like, whoa. Yep, that's definitely printed by Brenner. And it was just a strange ink paper smell. It wasn't anything terrible, but it just had a very distinct smell.
See, my mind started to wonder. I'm like, well, is it weed smell? Is it like dog smell?
No, it's nothing bad. Like it was just like, you just smell something that's very distinct to that thing. Yep. So if you ever meet like an older publisher, you ask this, if you ever printed with Brenner, ask them about the smell. They'll tell you. This is really funny.
I wanted to do a comic back on newspaper print, because that newspaper print smell was unique also.
Yeah.
And I would think that would be great to have at least one run of just a newspaper print and just to get that smell, because that old paper smell was just that brings back memories.
I'm thinking of with the cost of printing.
Okay.
Yeah, because we print digital, right? And the cost on that, you're paying $2 or $3 a book, depending on how many pages, all that jazz, But when I was printing back in the day, you had to print 3,000 copies, but you can get a book for 35 cents a book.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you got 20 cases of this stuff. And you're like, what am I going to do with this?
Oh yeah, no, I know that. I have an artist here in Sacramento, artist friend. His name is Chris Wisnia, and he does like all these old comics of monsters and sci-fi stuff. And he has literally a warehouse, or warehouse is exaggerating, but at least a garage of just boxes and boxes of old comics that he's done that he just has to go through and sell these. And I'm like, it's literally like stacked to the wall, they're stacked to the ceiling. Like, oh, you can never sell all of those, can you? I mean, they're beautiful comics, but there's just so many. There's no way he's going to sell all of these.
Yeah. Fortunately, I was selling through Diamond and all the distributors back in the day. So we got I turned a solid profit on everything, right? But I still had, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 books sitting in storage,
Ouch.
Luckily I ran across a retailer, right? And what this guy would do is he offered us 50 cents a book.
Wait, he would buy it for 50 cents a book?
Yeah, he would buy them at 50 cents a book in bulk.
Okay.
So he took 3,000 books. So it cleared out a lot of space for me.
Yeah.
I made a few bucks on it. And what he does is he sells something and then he gives one away. So I was like, okay. So there it is.
Right.
So sometimes you run across a retailer who'll do stuff like that for you. That's why it's sometimes good to make those connections with some retailers. Yeah.
That's why I used to love going to conventions, which gain those connections with retailers, because then you can get like in-store signings and all these great hookups from them. But 2020 took care of that.
Yeah. That was But we'll hope it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better.
It is. Things are getting better. Slowly better.
Oh, so here's one for you. Like when you first started out and you first were looking into doing Kickstarter, like what was your big inspiration, like to do a Kickstarter? Because obviously you saw a campaign and you said, you know what, I like what that guy is doing and what he's achieved. Let me try that.
I don't know specifically which campaign, but this is when I was first really getting into comics or printing comics and trying to think of it as being a full-time job. And I just remember seeing in all these Facebook posts and groups, everybody's throwing out Kickstarter. I was like, well, what is it? And then I looked into it and I saw all these great Kickstarters from people like Rob Liefeld, Michaels, Brian Polito. And I was like, well, why are they going through Kickstarter? And then I found out Kickstarter is just a way to get your funding up front. So it's not necessarily that's no risk, but it was a lower risk than me saving up money and doing it that way. So that was probably the biggest thing. It was just more of seeing consistently big name creators and smaller creators using Kickstarter as a great tool to get the finances they need to produce books. And then, you come across those Kickstarters that just didn't fund, and I had to learn from them also what not to do.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's sometimes hard, picking over somebody's bones. It's just like, how did this guy screw up?
It is. And I've seen a Kickstarter just this month that this their third Kickstarter. The first two Kickstarters did not fund, and then this one's funding. And I look back, and each of the first ones, they did a couple tweaks here and there, but it was but enough where they got an increase in the amount that was pledged each time. And now they're lucky enough to fund, which is really great because it seems like it's going to be a good book. Hopefully it is. But it's all about a learning process. It's finding out what you did wrong, what you didn't do, or what you did do wrong, and learning from that to make it even better next time.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now, as a publisher, right? So you've done Kickstarter, right? Mm-hmm. What is like your next step? Like, so you've produced individual books. Are you looking to produce a graphic novel? Are you looking to maybe get into a bigger publishing house? Are you looking to self-distribute through, go through Diamond? What are you looking to do in the future?
All of the above at this point. Anything that's going to get that next step is what I'm looking at. I am working on a graphic novel. It's actually something I'm working on with my wife. We're in the early stages of that.
Nice.
But I am also looking at a different publishing house. I really don't want to, because I was actually with another publisher before that went under. Their name is Big Tree Comics. I shouldn't say what. I actually founded that and then left it over to the people that I brought on for them to continue on it when I went on my own. And the dynamics of working with the group, it just didn't work for me. Because I don't like doing too much work and feeling like I have to carry everybody. I'm the type of person where if we're not all working together and doing the same percentage of work, I don't want to work with you. And that's what I felt like a lot of times. So unless I was with a group that I know is going to be there with me and go with me step by step, I'm not going to work with anybody. So yes, if I can find somebody that I trust, which there are a couple big name publishers I've looked into and considered, but nothing at this point. But if something comes down the line and I feel like it's a great option for me, I'm going to do it. Doing something through Diamond or what's the name of the other company that DC went through this year?
There's Lunar.
Yeah.
And USCI?
Something like
yeah.
That. So if something like that comes along, because I've got to think that with them not going through Diamond, that's going to either create options for people to go through Diamond that didn't before, or Lunar and whatever, they're going to look to see where else can we expand.
Right.
And hopefully that'd be great. Because I remember back in the 80s, there was more than just Diamond.
It was 13.
Yeah. And then I think Marvel had their own distribution company at one point.
Yeah, they had Heroes.
They bankrupt and everything, but yeah.
Yeah, that was Heroes World Entertainment. That's what destroyed the distribution system at that time. Because when I started, there was 13 different distributors. I looked at a book just recently published by Randy Zimmerman through Arrow Comics. They had 20 distributors they were running through. And at that time, as a nobody with no advertising, nothing, I could sell 4,500 books. Okay. Now, if you look, I don't know if you ever look at Comicron. Comicron is where they is Comicron.com. They pull up all the statistics as to they compile a list of all the books that have come out and how many books they've sold. Okay. Now, obviously, Marvel and DC, they dominate the top 100. Sure. You go all the way down the list. You start seeing some of the stuff that, the smaller publishers have done. Vault, Boom, so on and so forth. Some of these publishers, to get 1,000, they'd kill to get 1,000 books sold. And that's where the industry's at. Where sure. If you can sell 2,000 or 3,000 books as an independent publisher, you're going to be doing okay. Yeah, but there were indies back then selling 40 and 50,000 copies.
Oh wow!
On black and white books.
Well, Ninja Turtles is the cream of the crop, whatever you want to call it,
right.
Indie comics at that time. So they started out just hand selling stuff, from my understanding, back in New York, and then they worked out from there.
Oh yeah,
and that's what we all dreamt it was going to be like. We didn't think it would evolve into what it is now. Right. But I think that's what we all thought it was going to be like, just selling comics through that.
Yeah, and but if UCS, which is DCBS and Midtown Comics, that's who they are.
Okay.
Yeah, Midtown Comics is UCS or UCIS or whatever they are, and DCBS is Lunar. Okay. And they're just two big retailers. They're the two biggest retailers in the country, but they're just two big retailers. You know, and I'm pretty sure at some point they'll become friendly to indies. I know Lunar has already expressed interest with.
I would think that's got to be the next step for them, because you can't just go into this and not look into other companies to bring in. I mean, especially with the way Diamond had such a chokehold on everything, there's so many other companies that are just hoping for that chance to get in there. And you know, with these companies at least trying it out, they've got to look at the indies and think, hey, we could possibly do something with these books.
Yeah. My hope is that Diamond will loosen up a little bit. Because their stranglehold was fierce, and some of the stuff they did to a lot of the smaller publishers was just terrible.
Yeah.
If you do you know who Randy Zimmerman is?
I've heard the name, and okay. I can't remember why I've heard the name, but I know I've heard the name.
He's an older school artist, writer. He's one of the publishers or editors, one of the top guys at Arrow Comics back in the day.
Okay.
And his stories, woof, man. The stuff he has to say is crazy, because I mean, he was talking about where they would cut his orders by 20%.
Oh,
so he get called from retailers, and they would be like, "Hey, man, why are you shorting Diamond?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? I would never short Diamond." He was like, "Well, I ordered 10 books, I only got 7, or I only got 8." And that was something they did, and it was just terrible,
And Diamond wouldn't refund the stores, I'm assuming.
Well, the store, they paid for whatever they got, so it's not like if they only got 8, they only paid for 8. But but they lost out on those 2 other sales. There's nothing they can do about that. So but that's the that's just the messed up part about it. Like I said, hopefully things have changed, so we'll see.
I mean, it's gonna change. It's gonna change. I mean, I don't know if it's going to change for the better, but I just think the way things are, especially with now, there's so many other options. It's got to change somehow.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm hopeful, but then again, I am insane. So because I'm an independent publisher, so one of these things.
I think we all are a little crazy trying to do this, and
not a little.
Some of us are sane enough to step away when they first get in. So,
well, yeah. This is true. I was sane enough to keep my day job.
Okay. See, I was not, and I quit my day job. God, 4 years ago now.
I mean, good for you, though.
Yeah.
I mean, good for you. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame
you. I got lucky. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not making anything that I was making before.
Right.
I was working in the insurance company, and I was making a good amount of money there. But my happiness in doing this is a lot more than doing that. Right. So I'm gonna stick with this as much as I can.
No, do it. I've been fortunate enough to take a 2-year break from just working a day job, and I would advise it for anyone.
Yeah.
You can do it for you can do it for 4 years, 6 years, however long you can do it.
Well, I mean, because a lot of us work those jobs that we just hate. We don't want to work at that for the rest of our lives, and a lot of us do. So if you can get that chance of doing something that you love and you're passionate about, go for it. And take that chance. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. Take the chance, and then hopefully you do well. And if you don't, at least you tried.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the truth. What is it? My wife left her job probably 6 years ago. And she's just been home just drawing ever since. So I was like, all right, well,
wow,
good for you.
6 years though, that's nice.
Yeah. Just doing freelance stuff,
Okay.
But yeah, what can you do?
Yeah.
I'm a writer. I can't do that.
No, you can. You just were never taught.
No. Well, see, here's the thing. I worked professionally in the 90s. I was actually paid as a writer in the 90s. I did some adult stuff. I did Tenchi Muyo. I did a couple of things, right? But I made a choice to step away because I don't like pitching.
Okay.
I hate pitching. I hate it with a passion.
But you're a writer. You got.
I know. That's the funniest thing. I hate it I was just like, you know what? I'll just do my own thing. That's what I've been doing ever since. I just do my own thing. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I just no pitching. But anyway. But all right, so Kyrun, we've been at this for a little while. We're coming close to the end, but we're not at the end just yet,
Okay.
right? So I got a few more questions for you. But
Bring it
first, before we go to that one, let everybody know where they can find you, your work, everything.
You can find me and my work at touristcomics.com. I am also on Facebook, which is facebook.com/touristcomics, and Instagram and Twitter is at touristcomics also. If you're on TikTok, you can find me at Kyrun Silva. I do TikTok for fun. And outside of Facebook, that's really the only social media I do personally. Because I was like a lot of older people. Quarantine hit me and I was like, I need something else to do. So if you want to join me and look at some crazy videos I make, feel free. But touristcomics.com is probably the best way to keep track of me. Oh, my phone just went off. I forgot to turn that off. My bad. All right.
All right, cool. All right. Now, this other question is one I just asked everybody. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about or you wanted me to ask you?
No, I mean, I didn't have any preset ideas of how this was going to go. I just like to just sit down and enjoy the conversation. Whenever I do these, I don't think of it as an interview. I just think of it as me conversating with another comic creator. And that is, I don't like to have preconceived notions of what it's going to turn into. I just wanted to just sit down and talk, dude. So yeah, you're right.
All right, sounds good. All right, cool. Now, on to my comparators.
Okay.
I'll softball you. I'll bring you in with some nice softball ones.
All right.
Godzilla or Gamera?
Are we saying, do I want to fight one, or is one my buddy?
That's up to you, man.
Okay. All right. I'll go Godzilla, but I want him on my side. Godzilla's the king of monsters, so I want Godzilla on my side no matter what.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Captain America or Batman?
Batman. No choice.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I've always thought Cap was a little overrated. Because he's got super strength, but he's just an army dude with a shield at that point. Yeah, he has. I mean, he has some combat training, but Batman's got the combat training. He's got the skills. He's got the detective work. He's got the gadgets. And I'm not the guy that believes Batman can take down everybody with the whole prep time crap, but I do feel like Batman can take down most people. Okay.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Superheroes with people.
All right. Kirk or Picard?
Picard. Only because that's who I grew up on. Generation. If you really want to give me a choice, I'll take Cisco over both of them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you slap Q? You're my boy.
True. I mean, as far as all the Star Treks go, DS9 is my favorite.
Yeah. But it doesn't really get the respect that Next Generation does, or even like what was the one with Janeway? Is that Frontier Star Trek?
I think so. Yeah.
Like for some reason, people don't love DS9 as they do the other ones. I don't know why, but that's my boy.
Yeah, I agree. Byrne or Perez?
Oh, Perez. Perez for sure. I love his ink work. I mean, it's really close. Like, it's like asking me which of my two kids I like, but Perez for me, because I grew up as a Marvel fan, and at that time Perez was doing more Marvel work than Byrne was. I think Byrne was at DC at that point when I was reading comics. So it was definitely Perez for me.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Stan Lee or Jack Kirby?
Again, you got to preface that one. Like, are we saying who's a better creator? Who's a better writer?
It's up to you, man.
I'm going to say equal. And because they both bring so many different aspects to a comic book. Yes, Stan Lee was part of creating some of the greater stories for these characters, but Jack Kirby has so much influence in how those characters looked and their story itself. You can't disown what he did. So there's no choosing either one. They're both top of the tier for me.
Gotcha. Okay. The Rock or Stone Cold?
Rock. And don't even know that The Rock. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of backstory. So I like most people, I grew up with the Hulk Hogan thing, and then I stopped watching WWF for a while.
Right.
And then I got back into it when The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H and all them were into it. And Eddie Guerrero came on with WWE, and I got so into it to the point where I actually started training to become a professional wrestler. I was maybe 20, and I trained for maybe like 2 years. Right. And I sucked at it, which is why, because I'm only 5'7", so I'm not a tall dude. And at the time I was like 160. So those type of people, body wise, they're expected to be the high flyer, jumping off everything. I hate heights. So when I was training, I wanted to be more Chris Benoit and more The Rock. And then I found out, well, I hate heights, so I'm not jumping off anything. I'm terrible on the mic as far as ad-libbing things, so I can't be The Rock. So I have no real way of being a wrestler. I could possibly do the announcing thing because I'm pretty good behind the scene on the mic, but in front of a crowd, no, I was horrible. And I did wrestling for 2 years. I did one match where in that match I went for the championship of SPW, which is Supreme Pro Wrestling. I lost that in 30 seconds. And then I did like 2 other matches where I was the enforcer, and then a couple matches as the referee. But yeah, it was all because of The Rock for me. His mic skills. I mean, he was a technician in the ring too, just as much as Steve Austin was. But The Rock's mic skills was just beyond. I love it. I'm still a huge Rock fan even right now.
All right, yeah, fair enough. It's funny. You're the third person I've met in comics, who has, either wrestled, or has had, I don't know if he ever got to it. He was training to become a wrestler. He got hurt, so he couldn't go in full time. But he was training. I don't know if he wrestled any matches, but I do know another guy who's a show promoter who actually wrestled in Mexico.
Nice.
And he was out there and he did that for a few years, So that was you're like the third person who I actually know who actually went for it. But that's cool that you did it though.
Yeah, I mean, I tried it. What's even cooler is before pandemic kiboshed everything, I was going for my black belt in Taekwondo, and one of my sparring instructors, he's a black belt, but he's also a professional wrestler on the side. Right. So I was going to his shows here in Sacramento and down the coast here, just watching him. And then he got hurt, and now he's in rehab. So I was like, that sucks, dude. Yeah. You had to be quarantined during rehab?
That was the worst. Yeah. All right. So you know what? I'm going to hit you up with another wrestling question. So I'm going to hit you with another wrestling one.
All right.
Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair?
Okay. So I'm gonna preface it like this: Hulk Hogan, if you're trying to get the crowd excited during a match, nobody can get the crowd excited like Hulk Hogan does. I don't know what it is about the. I don't know what that was. But that got everybody juiced. But on the mic, Ric Flair was so much better than Hulk Hogan was, and then the antics that Ric Flair does in the ring. Not necessarily wrestling wise, but just the whole falling down and everything and the wooing. That's sort of like the whole Stan Lee Direct Kirby thing. They both have so many great attributes that they're adding to the wrestling part of things. I can't pick one.
All right, I got you. Vampirella or Red Sonja?
Vampirella. More because I like the supernatural aspect that she brings, and probably because I've met Buzz, the artist back in the 90s, Vampirella, a couple times. He's a cool guy. He actually did a Wonder Woman sketch for my wife, so that was Vampirella over there.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I got to try to get Buzz on the show. I've known him for too long.
Oh, nice.
I've known him since high school.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is a long time.
Yeah, because yeah, because a friend of mine went to art and design here in New York City.
Okay.
Buzz also went there, and Buzz was, I think my friend was a sophomore and Buzz was a senior.
Oh wow, okay.
And yeah, we just and it was some kid that the two of us didn't like. So our mutual hate for someone brought us together.
That's lovely.
yes. But I've known, like, we see each other and she's like, hey, what's up, man? And it's been 30 years of that.
Hey, you probably still bring out that name. Like, you remember what's his face? Yeah, I still hate him.
Yeah, no, actually we don't, thankfully. Now it's just about comic books. So, here's one. Well, we did a few of these, so we're going to do a couple more and then we'll wrap it up.
Whatever.
Right.
I'm cool.
Hellboy or Spawn?
Spawn. That was when I was like really into comics when Spawn first came out, and Todd McFarlane was a huge influence on me as a creator. So Spawn for sure. Yeah. Just the mythos that McFarlane puts into that is just fantastic for me.
Okay, that's cool. You
sounded disappointed though, so it's all right.
Why?
Oh no, you're like, hey, that's cool. Like you're disappointed in it.
No. Listen, man, I was there. I was there when it all started. I was there. I was buying those books. I have.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I probably have Spawn 1 through 20 somewhere in my collection.
I got Spawn signed by him, by McFarlane a few years ago, and Spider-Man #1 signed by McFarlane.
Nice. Is he as nice as everybody says he is?
Yeah. Actually, okay. Yeah. If you have the time, I can tell you a cool story.
No, of course.
So I was in line to get my book signed, and I put down my books. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing, buddy?" Whole generic McFarlane thing. I was like, "Yeah, I'm great, man. I love your stuff." And he goes to sign it, and he's like, "My pen's not working. Hold on 1 second." And he tells his handler, whatever, to take a pen or to go get another pen. And he's like, 1 second, they're gonna give me another pen. He's like, yeah, come sit down next to me while we wait for the pen. Just come sit down. And he had an empty chair right there. And I was like, are you sure? He goes, yeah, just come sit down right next to me. So I sat down. My friend who was behind me, had his camera. I was like, dude, take a picture with me sitting down next to Todd McFarlane. He's like, okay. So I'm sitting there like this next to Todd. Todd's leaning in, both smiling. And he just lets me sit there while he signs my books. And he's like, you like Spawn? I was like, yeah, I like Spawn, Mr. McFarlane. I love Spawn. Spawn's awesome. He's like, you like Spider-Man? Now, I'm not really a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm okay with the character, but like, yeah, I like Spider-Man. Spider-Man's awesome. I love Spider-Man. He's like, all right, thanks, buddy. Here you go. And he escorted me back in front of this table, and I was off my merry way. I was juiced at that point.
Right. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love to hear nice, positive stories about people. Especially the creators, because some of the creators, they don't know how to act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people have bigger heads than they really should have.
Yeah. Like the one story I have is about John Byrne, right? Now, I don't know if you've ever heard about John. Well, I know you know who John Byrne is, but have you ever heard of the stories of John Byrne at shows?
No.
Okay.
No, I have not.
Okay. A lot of them can be negative. Okay. And the way it was explained to me by one set of guys who were his fans, they said, well, John runs one of two ways. John's either fantastic or he's not. Okay. So, yeah. So we drove, a bunch of us drove down to a show down in Pittsburgh Comic-Con, right? We drive down and, we're setting up or whatever. And one of my artists and my buddy who drove us down, they see John Byrne is there. And they're like, yo, I didn't bring any books. And they're both huge fans. Huge, right? So my artist, he grabs a book. So I'm gonna go give this to John Byrne. And he goes over to John Byrne. My friend who drove us, he went with him. They go over to him. They said, and my friend goes to him. And this is the way they told me the story. They were like, he was like, Mr. Byrne, this is for you. And he grabs the book. He opens it, flips through it. He says, man, this is really nice. He said, will you sign it for me? He said, yeah. And he signed it for him and he gave it to him. He said, thank you. And then he says, do you guys have anything for me to sign? And they were like, no. He says, we drove in from New York. We didn't know you were going to be here, whatever. And he was like, oh, okay, don't worry about it. He reaches underneath his table. He pulls out a case of books. And he says, the retailer just dropped these off for me. And it was the first issue of his run on Fantastic Four.
Oh, wow.
So he pulls out 2 copies. He signs it for them, hands it to them. I've never seen 2 grown men float back to the table. They were so happy. They floated back. They were like,
wow.
Yep.
I mean, I would have too. Wow, yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that story was not where I thought you were going to go with it. Especially when they picked up a random book and gave it to him. I was under the impression you were going to be like, John Burns, like, this is not my book, but I'll sign it type of thing. But that was a lot better than that.
Yeah. Like I said, I like the positive stories. You know, okay. I can tell you some funny negative ones, but you know, those are, you know.
Next time I'm on, I will tell you my negative story about me meeting Neil Adams. That was
we could do that right now because I could tell you some, because that was the guy I was thinking about.
That's the guy everybody thinks about it.
Yeah, because all right, I'll go first. All right, okay. Like I said, I'm not an artist, so I don't, you know, whatever. But a friend of ours who's an artist, he's like, yo, I'm gonna show my portfolio to Neil Adams. Now, everybody with us were all artists. And they all looked at him. They were like, are you sure? Are you sure? He was like, yeah. He goes, and he comes back, and he's about to cry.
Oh.
Yeah. He's about to cry. He's just like, we were like, what happened? He was like, yo, man, he's just like not right, bro. He's just not right. like none of us were there, so we don't know exactly what was said, but just his reaction, we were just like, we were like we took him, we're like, yo, bro, just sit down. You know, we gave him a Coke. We're like, just chill for a while. We were just like, yo, man, just take it easy. He's a nice dude, you know. And he was talented. That was the funniest thing. He was good. But I guess, you know, Neil is brutal, man. Neil is brutal.
I heard
so
not full punches. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So go ahead, Kyrun. Okay. Let's hear this.
All right. So this is my Neil Adams story, and this is actually involving me and my friend Ricky. We were doing a convention here in the West Coast, and Neil was one of the special guests there. It was him and I can't remember. Well, it doesn't matter. Neil was one of the big special guests. So this is day 2. Everybody's setting up in the morning before people come in. Me and my friend, we had our booth ready, and we had like some time to spare. So we're gonna walk the floor. You know, we had the time, whatever. So we're walking the floor, and then we see that the company that's promoting the show, they got some donuts for everybody to have. They're like, hey, free donuts. You guys want to take some? You can. So we're like, cool. Take a couple donuts. We're like, let's start walking back to our booth. We start walking back to our booth. Our booth just happens to be going right past Neil Adams' table as we're going. He's there with just a couple of his handlers. Nobody's around him. So we're like, let's just go say hi to Neil. We've heard stories that he's mean, but let's just say hi to him. So we walk up. We have our donuts. We have our napkins on our donuts. And we're going up like, hey, Mr. Adams, how you doing? We're just creators. Just starting, you know, just trying to general small talk. And he goes, what are those? These are just donuts, sir. What are you doing with those? Well, you know, they're giving away free donuts over there. If you want to get some, you can. He's like, no, you are not supposed to be having donuts on my floor. I need you both to go away. And our jobs are just like, okay. And, you know, we're true grown men here. We're not,
right.
Like, we're not kids. We're grown men. And my friend, he's like 6'2", 300 pounds. So he's not like a big, he's a big dude. He's a big dude. Like, so we're like, okay. And we just walk off like we're little kids. Like, we just got split. And we just go to our booth, but we still have our donuts. So we're just like, yelled at by Neil Adams for eating a donut.
That's funny.
And I was like, where did this come from? Like, why did we have all this drama for just having donuts? And no one could understand what was happening. Like, no one could tell us why he got mad. But then they just found out Neil Adams can sometimes just be a jerk if he's not having a good day or something. So we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Neil is Neil, man.
Yeah.
He's Neil. Because he can be a nice guy.
I've heard that. But you have, what I'm understanding though, is you have to actually know him first for him to be a nice guy. Like you have to have that connection and have known him for a while. Otherwise, he's a jerk. It's like a defense mechanism, I guess, where he's like, I'm pushing you away until I really get to know you, and then I'm cool.
Right.
You know,
yeah. All right. I'm gonna hit you up with these last two questions, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
All right. Frank Miller or Alan Moore?
Frank Miller. Only because he does everything. He's an artist and a writer. And you know, the Batman series, Dark Knight, was so influential on me growing up. And I love Alan Moore. I mean, his stuff is great too. Watchmen's fantastic, whatever you want to say. But Frank Miller just touched me artistically and as a writer so much more than Alan Moore did.
All right, cool. So we'll leave it on this one. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Star Wars. I've seen all the Lord of the Rings. I've seen The Hobbit. I even watched the original Hobbit cartoon from like 60s, 70s, whatever it was. But Star Wars is just, that's my shit. And I love I like the prequels and the sequels. I love those too. And all the other shows, I dig everything Star Wars. I'm one of the first people in line to watch it anytime I can. And I got my kids watching it. So yeah, we're all Star Wars.
All right, cool. Well, Kyrun, this was fun, man. You know, we made it to the end somehow. You know,
thank you for holding my hand and guiding me along through this.
we held each other's hands. That was a wonderful thing about it. You know, we came through it together.
Nice.
You know,
nice.
So Kyrun, please let everybody know where they can find your work and, you know, and go support your stuff.
Well, my general website is tourscomics.com, facebook.com/tourscomics, or like I mentioned earlier, Instagram and Twitter is @tourscomics. If you want to check out my current Kickstarter, you can go to sawcomic.com, which is www.xobcomic.com. All
right, so there it is. Check out his book. It looks incredible. I mean, listen, guys, he has 3 issues. Worth getting all 3 issues. Go get them.
Can I also add on? If you are a backer and you're getting a reward, either digitally or physical reward, you are also getting 2 other digital comics, not by me, but by other creators. You're going to get Belial #1, which is from Chuck Pino and Sean Barbour, and you're going to get Acolyte #1, which is from Concrete Comics. So they were actually nice enough to donate these comics. So anybody that's getting a reward, either physical or digital, you're also going to get those 2 comics. And if we hit our stretch goal, which is coming up, we're under $200, you're going to get another 4 digital comics on top of that.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a lot of pull with people that are nice enough to donate comics. And so I'm trying to get as much value to everybody that backs my Kickstarter as possible.
All right. So there you go, people. Don't chip in, get some books, get some more books. You know, I was gonna say though, you know, once you mentioned Chuck, I was like, I don't know. I'm only joking. Chuck's a great guy. No, Chuck's a really cool guy. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Again, like, subscribe, share out the video. I'll talk to you all soon. And please go check out the Oswald Chronicles Kickstarter. Go check out. Now, how do you pronounce it? Because I keep saying Zob.
Oh, it's SAW. Like SAW is how you pronounce it. Just SAW.
SAW. Okay. All right, cool. So there it is. So go check out SAW, and I'll be talking to you all soon. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kyrun. And everybody, have a good night.